Last time we finished here. We have the basic outline of a website in HTML. We have an input field, a button, and when that button is clicked, we alert whatever the contents of the input field are. So let's actually see how this works again. If I enter hello world, and then I press click me, it alerts the contents of the input box. So that works exactly how we wanted to, but now we actually want to start sending messages back and forth. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we'll retain this button, we'll use this as the send message button, and we'll keep this input. But instead of alerting the messages, I want to add them to the page itself. So the way you create a new element is, instead of alert, I'm going to delete this alert. Okay, so there are a couple of things we actually need to add. The first thing we need to add is text, right? So that is simply done by writing document.create text node parentheses. And the same way as our alert, we're just going to write input content. So we did create a text node. It's simply not visible because we never added the text node to our actual document. We just created it in the script. Okay, so how do we make it visible? How do we add it to our document? Well, we have to append it to a certain element. That is, we need to tell it that it wants to be a part of something else. If you see this page, you'll probably notice that everything is nested under other things. That is sort of signified by these lines in my editor. So the head is nested under HTML, and title is nested under the head. Likewise, we have a body, and under the body we have h1, input, and button. They're all in an equal position. So we want to basically add this to something in the body to make it visible. And for that, I will actually add an ID to our body so we can identify it. I'm just going to call it body. And then here in our click function, I'm going to do document.getElement by ID to find our body. The ID is body. I'm going to add, append child. And we want to append this, but we're not really saving it. So I'm just going to make a new variable, call it node. And I'm going to add this node here. So now we're creating a new node that has the text value of the input. And then we're adding that node to the body. Let's save this and run it. Now if I type hello, we now see hello. And if I type something else, like how are you, it appends it. Now this works, but it's kind of ugly because it all just displays in one line. There's no space, we don't know who sent it, and there's a few other problems. This looks far from an actual chat platform. So let's improve the style a bit. Instead of just appending it to the body, let's create a new separate element. Let me add a div. A div is just an empty element that can be used for anything, but it's just an empty box that allows us to add other things to it. That's what we're going to use it for. And to this div, I'm going to add the ID of messages. And then instead of down here appending our node to the body, I'm going to append it to messages. So I saved, let's rerun it. Hello. Now, this displays on a new line, but still, if I add more text, hi, it's just going to append it in an endless line. So I want to style this a bit better. I'll start that by not simply making this a text node, but by making this a paragraph node. A paragraph node is created with P's. It's a P element like this. And I'm going to say, hi, this is a message. I'm going to save and load. And now you can see our message here. Now, if I add another message and run it, we now have both of the messages displayed in new lines with a small gap between. We can customize the gap. That's very easy to do, but basically this is a lot easier to manage and looks a lot nicer, well, as nice as it can look right now, than just displaying text in a single line. So instead of adding text nodes, we want to add paragraph nodes. So we create our text node, and then after our text node, we want to create a paragraph node. Not attribute, create element. And the element is a P. Okay, so we have text, we have a paragraph node. And since everything is nested under each other, we want to add the node to the paragraph. So we're going to do paragraph.append child node. And then instead of appending the node to the messages div, we're going to append the paragraph. So to make sense of this, let me actually write this out. We have our messages div that looks like this. To the messages div, we add a paragraph element. And within that paragraph, we have a text element. La la la. This is our text node. This is our paragraph node. And it's added to the messages node. That is element, but you get the idea. Okay, so let's see how this looks in action. Let's run it. Hello. It's displayed like normal text, but now if I say, how are you? We will add a new line, just like a proper paragraph tag. And we can do this endlessly. Let's add a smiley face. Now we can render messages on our board. The last thing left to do is to send messages from a server to another client. So we'll cover that in the next video.